Hello, welcome to the class Introduction to the Psychology of Human Relations. I'm your professor, Dr. Kalinda Jones, and I'm a social work human service professor here at Folsom Lake College. You can call me Kalinda. This class, people often wonder what is the Introduction to Psychology of Human Relations, and so this video is meant to kind of introduce you to the class. I'll talk about what human relations is, what are relationships and roles that you have in your life, how does learning and development come into play in the human relations, and how does a growth mindset intersect with human relations. At the end, there are some sources for further learning, and those are also present in Canvas. So I don't usually read definitions or read off of PowerPoint slides, but I think it's worthwhile to read this slide. Human relations, in its broadest sense, covers all types of interactions among people, their conflicts, cooperative efforts, and group relationships. It is the study of why our beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors sometimes cause relationship problems in our personal lives and in work-related situations. The study of human relations emphasizes the analysis, again, the analysis of human behavior, prevention strategies, resolution of behavioral problems, and self-development. So that word analysis is very key to understanding human relations. Although that definition indicated that it involves all areas of our lives, in this class, we will focus primarily on the way that it intersects with the field of social work human services. And the word analysis has to do with the fact that it is about applied behavioral sciences. And the world of human relationships the world of human relations has to do with the world of work as it relates to the application of behavioral sciences, psychology, sociology, and anthropology. In this class, we'll be focusing primarily on psychological principles as they apply to the field of human relations. I have quite a few other definitions here, which I think is just helpful for you to look at to give you a broad understanding of human relations. In general, the focus is going to be on the intrapersonal, which is the self, and the interpersonal, those one-to-one and group level interactions that occur. So these themes that I've listed here, if you've taken other social work human service classes, these will be pretty normal and you'll have seen them. And if you haven't seen or haven't taken those classes before, you may not have seen some of these themes that are going to come up, which is fine. This class is a great place to begin if this is your first introduction into social work and human services. This rainbow here that was produced by Donald Super as part of his theory. This particular iteration of it was in the 1980s. This is one way of representing the many roles, relationships that occur in the stages of our life. Now, one of the reasons I pulled this in is because my master's degree is in school counseling, and one of the things that I emphasized in my research in my PhD program was college and career readiness. So Donald Super is a career theorist. And, one of the criticisms of this is it's outdated. It is pretty old. I would say that most of us don't use the word leisureite, which you'll notice in the blue part of the rainbow here. So this is just a guide. It's something to help us begin to think about if in the world of human relations, all the ways that we interact with people in our personal, social, and our professional lives, what are all those roles that we play? And how might that change across our lives in these different stages? And what relationships come into play? So I would just encourage you to begin to think about this. I would think this is maybe one of your first self-awareness questions that I offer you in this class. And when you come to class on the first class of the semester, we'll spend some time working with this concept. We'll use this just as a springboard. So another aspect of human relations, besides just having a basic understanding of what it is and understanding that it involves these kind of roles and relationships over the course of our lives, is understanding the importance of learning and development in human relations. And so the next two slides are going to really deal with kind of the concept of continuous learning. So I pulled this article from Forbes, which came out in 2022. And in this article, they're talking about a study that was done. And learning and development is something that over the course of time has ebbed and flowed in the world of work. Sometimes businesses have, as a whole in the United States, they've had times or years, periods where there's been more of an emphasis on making sure that the employees are provided with education and learning opportunities. And then there'll be times when that is kind of almost a dry industry within the larger world of work in the United States. Well, right now, it looks like that this is what this article called kind of giving a competitive edge for companies that are providing learning and development, professional learning, professional development activities for their employees. The thing that's interesting about this is that these professional development and learning activities are viewed as important by both the employers and by the employees. And this data that they pulled this research from also indicates that there's kind of trends that are occurring. So people are wanting more digital professional development and training. They're wanting a focus on mental health and diversity, and obviously training. I would also say that some of the other research that I looked at is saying that there's a focus on hard skills, intrapersonal and interpersonal skills, which we're going to do a lot in this class, as well as the hard skills, which are kind of the skills you need to be successful in a particular job. The other thing that's going on is that as opposed to kind of these group level trainings where everybody would kind of sit in a room together and they would all get maybe lectured at in the workplace, as opposed to that, there is a movement toward people having an individualized professional growth plan, or what might be called an employee development plan. That's what the picture is on this slide. It's an example of an employee development plan. And so some of the key concepts that have to do with this learning and development broadly in the field of human relations is that it increases retention so that employers are able to maintain their employees for longer. The other thing that you might want to consider as you think about human relations over the life cycle, not just like right now, is what this concept of like career path. Of course, none of us can predict where we're going to be. But there used to be this concept of a career ladder, and it still exists where people kind of just move up in a company. But now with more learning and development, people are saying that they're more interested in what's more like a career. I can't really do it with my fingers, but more of a career lattice where people might just not move up. They might move over with new learning and development, and then that might allow them to move up. So this ability to learn in the workplace, to be open to continual learning and to maximize the opportunities that are brought before you, this is a very important skill to be successful in the workplace. And that brings us into this idea of a growth mindset. So Carol Dweck's work, you may be familiar with this. The growth mindset is often used in educational settings. The idea that there's a contrast between approaching learning from either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And with a fixed mindset, if learning is in front of a person, if they have a fixed mindset, then the chance that they're going to actually reach their potential as an individual is decreased. And this fixed mindset is like, oh, if something comes up and it's difficult, they might avoid that. If they have to work real hard, they might give up easily. And they see like a lot of extra effort is just work that's, laborious. If people criticize or try to give them feedback or evaluation, they'll just take that as not helpful. And then if they watch other people succeed at something that they're struggling with, they often feel threatened. So this is an approach toward learning something new or doing something difficult that is called a fixed mindset. In contrast to that, there's the growth mindset. And this really is a way of approaching new learning, new tasks, in which you or someone else would really embrace that challenge that's in front of you. And if while you're learning a new task or trying to learn a new skill or new knowledge, if that's difficult, then you just embrace that yes, it's going to be difficult, that it's going to take some effort before you master it. And that if people give you feedback and say you're not quite there yet, here's some things that can help you get there, you take that to help you actually master what you're trying to learn. And that you will look to others who've already succeeded as role models or examples of ways to achieve your learning goals. And the people who have this growth mindset are more likely to achieve and reach higher levels of their potential. I'm going to point out a couple things that you may not have heard about the growth mindset before, which is that it's not just around knowledge. So we often teach students this in relation to learning. Like if you have a growth mindset towards learning in a class, you'll do better. But also it relates to the field of human relations because it has to do with getting hard skills for employment, as well as developing soft skills, like those intrapersonal and interpersonal skills that I mentioned earlier in this video. And also what we call transferable skills. So if you have a skill that you've mastered in one area, then you'll be able to take that skill and move it to another job or another area. So the idea of transferable skills is very important. And many of the skills that we'll talk about in this class, like emotional intelligence, self-awareness, knowledge of your biases, effective communication, paraphrasing, conflict resolution, these kind of skills, it's not like you're just going to learn them in this class and that's it. You'll be able to take them into the workforce. That's the point of this class, right? The psychology of human relations. You learn and practice these skills here, and then they're transferable out of here. So yes, the growth mindset will be helpful in this class, but it also is a way to continue to approach things in the workforce. So as I said, it's both in and out of the workplace. And another thing that you may not have heard before is that it's not just about do you personally have a growth mindset, but also if you're in the workplace, do you as the employee have the growth mindset, and does the employer or the culture of the workplace, is it focused on a growth mindset? That's something to assess and think about when you think about like what kind of a workplace will I thrive in. And then the last thing I want to say about growth mindset is that as you're learning and you're approaching challenges through this idea of I can persist, I can master, I can do, one of the things that can be helpful is to understand that there's a neurobiological thing going on, right? Is that you're changing the neurology in your brain, right? So there's neuroscience involved in growth and development of new skills. And we'll be talking about that in this class as well. So I hope that this has been helpful to you, that we've talked about the definition of human relations, at least giving you some definitions and giving you a little bit of a taste of what it's about. We've talked about roles, relationships, and stages that as a concept that you can think about what that looks like in your life. We talked about learning and development in the workplace, as well as a growth mindset in the workplace. And then I'm just offering you here the sources that I utilized for this presentation. They're also all on Canvas, so you can access them there. It can help you learn a little bit more, go deeper in the information that I've presented here. Also, we're going to do more with this in class. So if you go through this and you're not clear about something on the video didn't sit right with you, you disagree with it, please bring all of those questions, concerns to class, because we'll have a chance to discuss it and we'll have a chance to do some activities with this so that we can apply the concepts that have been introduced in this video. I look forward to meeting you at the first class, and we'll get a chance to really dive into the introduction to the psychology of human relations.